Act 4, Scene 1, London, before the gates of the Tower. Enter Queen Elizabeth with the Duchess of York and Lord Marquess of Dorset. To them, Lady Anne, Duchess of Gloucester, with the Duke of Clarence's daughter.
Who meets us here? My niece Plantagenet, led in the hand of her kind aunt of Gloucester. Oh, now, for my life, she's wandering to the Tower on pure heart's love to greet the tender prince. Daughter, well met.
God give your graces both a happy and a joyful time of day.
As much to you, good sister. Whither away?
No farther than the Tower, and, as I guess, upon the like devotion as yourselves, to gratulate the gentle princes there.
Kind sister, thanks. We'll enter all together. And in good time, here the lieutenant comes. Master Lieutenant, pray you by your leave, how doth the prince and my young son of York?
Right well, dear madam. By your patience, I may not suffer you to visit them. The king hath strictly charged the contrary.
The king? Who's that?
I mean, the Lord Protector.
The Lord protect him from that kingly title. Hath he set bounds between their love and me? I am their mother. Who shall bear me from them?
I am their father's mother. I will see them.
Their aunt I am in law, in love their mother. Then bring me to their sights. I'll bear thy blame and take thy office from thee on my peril.
No, madam, no. I may not leave it so. I am bound by oath, and therefore pardon me.
Let me but meet your ladies 1 hour hence, and I'll salute your Grace of York as mother, and reverend looker-on of 2 fair queens. Come, madam, you must straight to Westminster, there to be crowned Richard's royal queen.
Come, my lace asunder, that my pent heart may have some scope to beat, or else I swoon from this dead-killing news.
Spiteful tidings, oh unpleasing news.
Be of good cheer, mother. How fares your grace?
Oh, Dorset, speak not to me. Get thee gone. Death and destruction dogs thee at thy heels. Thy mother's name is ominous to children. If thou wilt outstrip death, go, cross the seas, and live with Richmond from the reach of hell. Go, hide thee from this slaughterhouse, lest thee increase the number of the dead and make me die the thrall of Margaret's curse. Nor mother, wife, nor England's counted queen.
Wise care is this your counsel, madam. Take all the swift advantage of the hours. You shall have letters from me to my son, in your behalf, to meet you on the way. Be not ta'en tardy by unwise delay.
Oh, ill-dispersing wind of misery. Oh, my accursed womb, the bed of death. A cockatrice hast thou hatched to the world whose unavoided eye is murderous.
Come, madam, come. I in all haste was sent.
And I with all unwillingness will go. Oh, would to God that the inclusive verge of golden metal that must round my brow were red hot steel to sear me to the brains. Anointed let me be with deadly venom and die ere men can say, God save the queen.
Go, go, poor soul, I envy not thy glory. To feed my humor, wish thyself no harm.
No, why? When he that is my husband now came to me as I followed Henry's course, when scarce the blood was well washed from his hands, which issued from my other angel husband, and that dear saint which I then weeping followed. Oh, when, I say, I looked on Richard's face, this was my wish. Be thou, quoth I, accursed for making me so young, so old a widow. And when thou weddest, let sorrow haunt thy bed, and be thy wife, if any be so mad, more miserable by the life of thee than thou hast made me by my dear lord's death. Lo, ere I can repeat this curse again within so small a time, my woman's heart grossly grew captive to his honey words, and proved the subject of mine own soul's curse, which hitherto hath held my eyes from rest. For never yet 1 hour in his bed did I enjoy the golden dew of sleep, but with his timorous dreams was still awake. Besides, He hates me for my father Warwick and will, no doubt, shortly be rid of me.
Poor heart, adieu. I pity thy complaining.
No more than with my soul I mourn for yours.
Farewell, thou woeful welcomer of glory.
Adieu, poor soul that takes thy leave of it.
Go thou to Richmond, and good fortune guide thee. Go thou to Richard, and good angels tend thee. Go thou to sanctuary, and good thoughts possess thee. I to my grave, where peace and rest lie with me. 80-odd years of sorrow have I seen, and each hour's joy racked with a week of teen.
Stay, yet look back with me onto the tower. Pity you ancient stones, those tender babes, whom envy hath immured within your walls. Rough cradle for such little pretty ones. Rude, ragged nurse, old sullen playfellow, for tender princes use my babies well. So foolish sorrows bid your stones farewell.
Act 4, Scene 2, a hall of state in the royal palace. Enter Richard in royal pomp, Buckingham, Catesby, Ratcliffe, Lovell, and a page.
Stand all apart, cousin of Buckingham.
My gracious sovereign.
Give me thy hand. Thus high by the advice and by the assistance is King Richard seated. But shall we wear these glories for a day, or shall they last and we rejoice in them?
Still live they, and forever let them last.
Ah, Buckingham, now do I play the touch, to try if thou be current gold indeed. Young Edward thrives. Think now what I would speak.
Say on, my loving lord.
Why, Buckingham, I say I would be king.
Why, so you are, my thrice renowned lord.
Ha! Am I king? 'Tis so, but Edward lives.
True, noble prince.
That Edward should live, true noble prince, cousin, thou wast not wont to be so dull. Shall I be plain? I wish the bastard's dead, and I would have it suddenly performed. What sayest thou now? Speak suddenly, be brief.
Your grace may do your pleasure.
Tut, tut, thou art all ice. Thy kindness freezes. Say, have I thy consent that they shall die?
Give me some little breath, some pause, dear lord, before I positively speak in this. I will resolve you herein presently.
King is angry. See, he gnaws his lip.
I will converse with iron-witted fools and unrespective boys. None of you are for me that look into me with considerate eyes. High-reaching Buckingham grows circumspect. Boy!
My lord?
Knowest thou not any whom corrupting gold will tempt unto close exploit of death?
I know a discontented gentleman whose humble means match not his haughty spirit. Gold were as good as 20 orators, and will, no doubt, tempt him to anything.
What is his name?
His name, my lord, is Tyrrell.
I partly know the man. Go call him hither, boy. The deep revolving witty Buckingham no more shall be neighbor to my counsels. Hath he so long held out with me untired, and now he stops for breath. Well, be it so. How now, Lord Stanley? What's the news?
No, my loving lord. The Marquess Dorset, as I hear, is fled to Richmond, the parts where he abides.
Come hither, Catesby. Rumor it abroad that Anne, my wife, is very grievous sick. I will take order for her keeping close. Inquire me out some mean poor gentleman, whom I will marry straight to Clarence's daughter. The boy is foolish, and I fear not him. Look how thou dreamst. I say again, give out that Anne my queen is sick and like to die. About it, for it stands me much upon to stop all hopes whose growth may damage me. I must be married to my brother's daughter, or else my kingdom stands on brittle glass. Murder her brothers, then marry her. Uncertain way of gain. But I am in so far in blood that sin will pluck on sin. Tear-falling pity dwells not in this eye. Is thy name Tyrrell?
James Tyrrell, and your most obedient subject.
Art thou indeed?
Prove me, my gracious lord.
Darest thou resolve to kill a friend of mine?
Please you, but I had rather kill 2 enemies.
Why then thou hast it? 2 deep enemies, foes to my rest, and my sweet sleep's disturbers, are they I would have thee deal upon. Tyrrell, I mean those bastards in the tower.
Let me have open means to come to them, and soon I'll rid you from the fear of them.
Thou sings sweet music. Hark, come hither, Tyrrell. Go, buy this token. Rise, and lend thine ear. There is no more but so. Say it is done, and I will love thee and prefer thee for it.
I will dispatch it straight.
My lord, I have considered in my mind the late request that you did sound me in.
Well, let that rest. Dorset is fled to Richmond.
I hear the news, my lord.
Stanley, he is your wife's son. Well, look unto it.
My lord, I claim the gift, my due, by promise, for which your honor and your faith is pawned. The earldom Hereford, and the movables which you have promised that I shall possess.
Stanley, look to your wife. If she convey letters to Richmond, you shall answer it.
What says your highness to my just request?
I do remember me, Henry VI did prophesy that Richmond should be king, when Richmond was a little peevish boy. A king, perhaps.
My lord.
How chanced the prophet could not at the time have told me, I being by, that I should kill him?
My lord, your promise for the earldom.
Richmond. When last I was at Exeter, the mayor in courtesy showed me the castle, and called it Rougemont, at which name I started, because the Bard of Ireland told me once I should not live long after I saw Richmond.
My lord.
What's o'clock?
I am thus bold to put your grace in mind of what you promised me.
But what o'clock?
Upon the stroke of 10.
Well, let it strike.
Why let it strike?
Because that, like a jack, thou keeps the stroke betwixt thy begging and my meditation. I am not in the giving vein today.
Why then, resolve me whether you will or no.
Thou troublest me. I am not in that vein.
And is it thus? Repays he my deep service with such contempt? Made I him king for this? Oh, let me think on Hastings and be gone to Brecknock, while my fearful head is on.
Act 4, Scene 3, an antechamber in the palace. Enter Tyrrell.
The tyrannous and bloody act is done. The most arch deed of piteous massacre that ever this land was guilty of. Dighton and Forrest I did suborn to do this piece of ruthless butchery, albeit there were fleshed villains, bloody dogs, melted with tenderness and mild compassion, wept like 2 children in their deaths. Sad story. Oh, thus, quoth Dighton, lay the gentle babes. Thus, quoth Forrest, girdling one another within their alabaster innocent arms. Their lips were 4 red roses, and within their summer beauty kissed each other. A book of prayers on their pillow lay, which once, quoth Forrest, almost changed my mind. But, oh, the devil, there the villain stopped, when Dighton thus told on. We smothered the most replenished sweet work of nature that from the prime creation e'er she framed. Hence, both were gone with conscience and remorse. They could not speak, and so I left them both to bear this tidings to the bloody king. Oh, and here he comes. All health, my sovereign lord.
Kind Tyrrell, am I happy in thy news?
If to have done the thing you gave me in charge beget your happiness, be happy then, for it is done.
But didst thou see them dead?
I did, my lord.
And buried, gentle Tyrrell?
The chaplain of the tower hath buried them. But where, to say the truth, I do not know.
Come to me, Tyrrell, soon and after supper, when thou shalt tell the process of their death. Meantime, but think how I may do thee good. Be inheritor of thy desire. Farewell till then.
I humbly take my leave.
The son of Clarence have I pent up close. His daughter meanly have I matched in marriage. The sons of Edward sleep in Abraham's bosom, and Anne my wife hath bid this world good night. Now, for I know the Breton Richmond aims at young Elizabeth, my brother's daughter, and by that knot looks proudly on the crown. To her go I, a jolly thriving wooer.
My lord.
Good or bad news that thou comest in so bluntly?
Bad news, my lord. Morton is fled to Richmond, and Buckingham, backed with the hardy Welshman, is in the field, and still his power increaseth.
Ely with Richmond troubles me more near than Buckingham, and his rash levied strength. Come, I have learned that fearful commentating is leaden servitor to dull delay. Delay leads impotent and snail-paced beggary. Then fiery expedition will be my wing, Jove's Mercury and herald for a king. Go, muster men. My counsel is my shield. We must be brief when traitors brave the field.
Act 4, Scene 4, London, a courtyard in the palace. Enter Queen Margaret.
So now prosperity begins to mellow and drop into the rotten mouth of death. Here in these confines, slyly have I lurked to watch the waning of mine enemies. A dire induction am I witness to and will to France, hoping the consequence will prove as bitter, black, and tragical. Withdraw thee, wretched Margaret. Who comes here?
Ah! My poor princess. Oh, my tender babes, my unblown flowers, new appearing sweets. If yet your gentle souls fly in the air, be not fixed and doom perpetual. Hover about me with your airy wings and hear your mother's lamentation.
Hover about her. Say that right for right have dimmed your infant morn to aged night.
So many miseries have crazed my voice that my woe-wearied tongue is still and mute. Edward Plantagenet, why art thou dead?
Plantagenet doth quit Plantagenet. Edward for Edward pays a dying debt.
Wilt thou, O God, fly from such gentle lambs and throw them in the entrails of the wolf? When didst thou sleep when such a deed was done?
when Holy Harry died and my sweet son.
Dead life, blind sight, poor mortal living ghost, woes seen, world's shame, graves due by life usurped, brief abstract and record of tedious days, rest thy unrest on England's lawful earth, unlawfully made drunk with innocent blood.
Ah, that thou wouldst as soon afford a grave as thou canst yield a melancholy seat. Then would I hide my bones, not rest them here. Ah, who hath any cause to mourn but we?
If ancient sorrow be most reverend, give mine the benefit of seniority, and let my griefs frown upon the upper hand. If sorrow can admit society, tell over your woes again by viewing mine. I had an Edward till a Richard killed him. I had a husband till a Richard killed him. Thou hast an Edward till a Richard killed him. Thou hast a Richard till a Richard killed him.
I had a Richard too, and thou didst kill him. I had a Rutland too, thou hopest to kill him.
Thou had a Clarence too, and Richard killed him. From forth the kennel of thy womb hath crept a hellhound that doth hunt us all to death. That dog that had his teeth before his eyes to worry lambs and lap their gentle blood. That excellent grand tyrant of the earth that reigns in galled eyes of weeping souls, that foul defacer of God's handiwork. Thy womb let loose to chase us to our graves. Oh, upright, just, and true disposing God, how do I thank thee that this carnal cur preys on the issue of his mother's body and makes her pew fellow with others' moan.
Oh, Harry's wife, triumph not in my woes. God witness with me, I have wept for thine.
Bear with me. I am hungry for revenge. And now I cloy me with beholding it. Thy Edward, he is dead, that killed my Edward. Thy other Edward, to quit my Edward. Young York, he is but boot, but both they matched not the high perfection of my loss. Thy Clarence, he is dead, that stabbed my Edward, and the beholders of this frantic play, the adulterate, Hastings, Rivers, Vaughan, Grey, untimely smothered in their dusty graves. Richard yet lives, hell's black intelligencer, only reserved their factor to buy souls and send them thither. But at hand, ensues his piteous and unpitied end. Earth gapes, hell burns, fiends roar, saints pray to have him suddenly conveyed from hence. Cancel his bond of life, dear God, I pray, that I may live and say the dog is dead.
Oh, thou didst prophesy the time would come, that I should wish for thee to help me curse the bottled spider, that foul bunch-backed toad!
I called thee then, vain flourish of my fortune. I called thee then, poor shadow, painted queen, the presentation of but what I was, the flattering index of a direful pageant, once heaved high to be hurled down below. A mother only mocked with two fair babes. A dream of what thou wast, a garish flag, to be the aim of every dangerous shot, a sign of dignity, a breath, a bubble, a queen in jest, only to fill the scene. Where is thy husband now? Where be thy brothers? Where are thy two sons? Where dost thou joy? Who sues and kneels and says, God save the queen? Where be the bending peers that flattered thee? Where be the thronging troops that followed thee? Decline all this, and see what now thou art. For happy wife, a most distressed widow, for joyful mother, one that wails the name, for one being sued to, one that humbly sues, for queen, a very caitiff, crowned with care, for she that scorned at me, now scorned of me, for she being feared of all, now fearing one, for she commanding all, obeyed of none. Thus hath the course of justice whirled about and left thee but a very prey to time, having no more but thought of what thou wast, to torture thee the more, being what thou art. Thou didst usurp my place, and dost thou not usurp the just proportion of my sorrow? Now thou proud neck bears half my burdened yoke, from which even here I slip my weary head and leave the burden of it all on thee. Farewell, York's wife and queen of sad mischance. These English woes shall make me smile in France.
Oh, thou well skilled in curses, stay a while and teach me how to curse mine enemies.
Forbear to sleep the nights and fast the days. Compare dead happiness with living woe. Think that thy babes were sweeter than they were, and he that slew them fouler than he is. Bettering thy loss makes the bad causer worse. Revolving this will teach thee how to curse.
My words are dull, oh quicken them with thine.
Thy woes will make them sharp and pierce like mine.
Why should calamity be full of words?
Windy attorneys to their clients' woes, airy succeeders of in-estate joys, poor breathing orators of miseries, let them have scope. Though what they will impart help nothing else, yet they do ease the heart.
If so, then be not tongue-tied. Go with me, and in the breath of bitter words, let's smother my damned son, that thy two sweet sons smothered. The trumpet sounds, be copious in exclaims.
Who interrupts me in my expedition?
Oh, she that might have intercepted thee by strangling thee in her accursed womb from all the slaughters, wretch, that thou hast done.
Hides thou that forehead with a golden crown where should be branded if that right were right? The slaughter of the prince that owned that crown, and the dire death of my poor sons and brothers? Tell me, thou villain slave, where are my children?
Thou toad, where is thy brother Clarence and little Ned Plantagenet, his son?
Where's the gentle Rivers, Vaughan, Grey?
Where is kind Hastings?
A flourish, trumpets. Strike alarm, drums. Let not the heavens hear these telltale women rail on the Lord's anointed. Strike, I say. Either be patient or entreat me fair, or with the clamorous report of war, thus will I drown your exclamations.
Art thou my son?
Aye, I thank God, my father, and yourself.
Then patiently hear my impatience.
Madam, I have a touch of your condition that cannot brook the accent of reproof.
Oh, let me speak.
Do then, but I'll not hear.
I will be mild and gentle in my words.
And brief, good mother, I am in haste.
Art thou so hasty? I have stayed for thee, God knows, in torment and in agony.
And came I not at last to comfort you?
No, by the holy rood, thou know'st it well. Thou camest on earth to make the earth my hell. A grievous burden was thy birth to me. Tetchy and wayward was thy infancy, thy school days frightful, desperate, wild, and furious, thy prime of manhood daring, bold, and venturous, thy age confirmed, proud, subtle, sly, and bloody, more mild, but yet more harmful, kind in hatred. What comfortable hour canst thou name that ever graced me with thy company?
Faith, none but Humphrey Hower, that called your grace to breakfast once, fourth of my company. If I be so disgracious in your eye, let me march on and not offend you, madam. Strike up the drum.
I prithee hear me speak.
You speak too bitterly.
Hear me a word, for I shall never speak to thee again.
So.
Either thou wilt die by God's just ordinance, ere from this war thou turn a conqueror, or I, with grief and extreme age, shall perish and never more behold thy face again. Therefore, take with thee my most grievous curse, which in the day of battle tire thee more than all the complete armor that thou wearest. My prayers on the adverse party fight, and there the little souls of Edward's children whisper the spirits of thine enemies and promise them success and victory. Bloody thou art, bloody will be thy end. Shame serves thy life, and doth thy death attend.
Though far more cause, yet much less spirit to curse abides in me, I say amen to her.
Stay, madam. I must talk a word with you.
I have no more sons of the royal blood for thee to slaughter. For my daughters, Richard, thou shalt be praying nuns, not weeping queens, and therefore level not to hit their lives.
You have a daughter called Elizabeth, virtuous and fair, royal and gracious.
And she must die for this? Oh, let her live. I'll corrupt her manners, stain her beauty, slander myself as false to Edward's bed, throw over her the veil of infamy, so she may live unscarred of bleeding slaughter. I will confess she was not Edward's daughter.
Wrong not her birth, she is a royal princess.
To save her life, I'll say she is not so.
Her life is safest only in her birth.
And only in her safety died her brothers.
Lo, at their birth, good stars were opposite.
No, to their lives ill friends were contrary.
All unavoided is the doom of destiny.
True, when avoided grace makes destiny. My babes were destined to a fairer death if grace had blessed thee with a fairer life.
You speak as if I had slain my cousins.
Cousins, indeed, and by their uncle cousined, of comfort, kingdom, kindred, freedom, life, whose hands so touched their tender hearts, thy head all indirectly gave direction. No doubt the murderous knife was dull and blunt till it had whetted on thy stone-hard heart to revel in the entrails of my lambs, but that still use of grief makes wild grief tame. My tongue should to thy ears not name my boys, till that my nails were anchored in thine eyes, and I, in such a desperate bay of death, like a poor bark of sails tackling wreck, rush all to pieces on thy rocky bosom.
Madam, so thrive I in my enterprise and dangerous success of bloody wars, as I intend more good to you and yours than ever you or yours by me were harmed.
What good is covered with the face of heaven to be discovered that can do me?
The advancement of your children, gentle lady.
Up to some scaffold there.
Unto the dignity and height of fortune, the high imperial type of this earth's glory.
Flatter my sorrow with report of it. Tell me what state, what dignity, what honor canst thou demise to any child of mine?
Even all I have, I and myself and all. will I withal endow a child of thine. So, in the leth of thy angry soul thou drown the sad remembrance of those wrongs which thou supposed I have done to thee.
Be brief, lest that the process of thy kindness last longer telling than thy kindness date.
Then know that from my soul I love your daughter.
My daughter's mother thinks it with her soul.
What do you think?
That thou dost love my daughter from my soul. So from my soul's love didst thou love her brothers. My heart's love, I do thank thee for it.
Be not so hasty to confound my meaning. I mean that with my soul I love thy daughter, and do intend to make her Queen of England.
Well then, who dost thou mean shall be her king?
Even he that makes her queen, who else should be?
What, thou?
Even so, how think you of it?
How canst thou woo her?
That's I would learn of you, as one being best acquainted with her humor.
And wilt thou learn of me?
Madam, with all my heart.
Send to her by the man that slew her brothers, a pair of bleeding hearts, thereon engrave Edward and York. Then happily will she weep. Therefore present to her, as sometime Margaret did to thy father, steeped in Rutland's blood, a handkerchief, which say to her did drain the purple sap from her sweet brother's blood, and bid her wipe her weeping eyes withal. If this inducement move her not to love, send her a letter of thy noble deeds. Tell her thou madst away her uncle Clarence, her uncle Rivers, aye, and for her sake madst quickly convey with her good Aunt Anne.
You mock me, madam. This is not the way to win your daughter.
There is no other way, unless thou canst put on some other shape and be not Richard, that thou done all this.
Say that I did all this for love of her.
Nay, then indeed she cannot choose but hate thee, having brought love with such a bloody spoil.
Look, what is done cannot be now amended. Men shall deal unadvisedly sometimes, which after hours gives leisure to repent. If I did take the kingdom from your sons, to make amends, I'll give it to your daughter. If I have killed the issue of your womb, to quicken your increase, I will beget mine issue of your blood upon your daughter. A granddame's name is little less in love than is the doting title of a mother. They are as children, but one step below. Even of your metal, of your very blood, of all one pain, save for a night of groans endured of her from whom you bid like sorrow. Your children were vexation to your youth, but mine shall be a comfort to your age. The loss you have is but a son being king, and by that loss your daughter is made queen. I cannot make you what amends I would. Therefore, accept such kindness as I can. Dorset, your son, that with a fearful soul leads discontented steps in foreign soil, this fair alliance quickly shall call home to high promotions and great dignity. The king that calls your beauteous daughter wife familiarly shall call thy Dorset brother. Again, you shall be mother to a king, and all ruins of distressful times repaired with double riches of content. What? We have many goodly days to see. The liquid drops of tears that you have shed shall come again, transformed to orient pearl, advantaging their love with interest of 10 times double gain of happiness. Go then, my mother, to thy daughter go. Make bold her bashful years with your experience. Prepare her ears to hear a wooer's tale. Put in her tender heart the aspiring flame of golden sovereignty. Acquaint the princess with the sweet silent hours of marriage joys. And when this arm of mine has chastised that petty rebel, dull-brained Buckingham, bound with triumphant garlands, will I come and lead thy daughter to a conqueror's bed, to whom I will retail my conquests won, and she shall be sole victress, Caesar's Caesar.
What were I best to say? Her father's brother would be her lord, or shall I say her uncle? Or he that slew her brothers and her uncles? Under what title shall I woo for thee? That God, the law, my honor, and her love can make seem pleasing to her tender years.
Infer fair England's peace by this alliance,
Which she shall purchase with still lasting war.
tell her her king that may command entreats.
That at her hands which the king's king forbids.
Say she shall be the high and mighty queen.
To veil the title as her mother doth.
Say I will love her everlastingly.
But how long shall that title ever last?
Sweetly enforce unto her fair life's end.
But how long fairly shall her sweet life last?
As long as heaven and nature lengthens it.
As long as hell and Richard likes it.
Say I, her sovereign, am her subject low.
But she, your subject, loathes such sovereignty.
Be eloquent in my behalf to her.
An honest tale speech such being plainly told.
Then plainly to tell her my loving tale.
Plain and not honest is too harsh a style.
Your reasons are too shallow and too quick.
Oh, no, my reasons are too deep and dead, poor infants in their graves.
Oh, harp not on that string, madam, that is past.
Harp on it still, break.
Now, by my George, my garter and my crown,
Profane, dishonored, and the third usurped.
I swear.
By nothing, for this is no oath. Thy George profaned hath lost his lordly honor. Thy garter blemished, pawned his knightly virtue. Thy crown usurped, disgraced his kingly glory. Thou wouldst swear then by something that thou hast wronged.
Then, by myself.
Thyself is self-misused.
Now, by the world.
'Tis full of thy wrong, 'tis full of thy
My father's death.
Thy life hath it dishonored.
Why then, by God.
God's wrong is most of all. If thou didst fear to break an oath with him, the king my husband hast not broken, nor my brothers died. If thou hast feared to break an oath by him, the imperial medal circling now thy head hath graced the tender temples of my child. And both the princes have been breathing here, which now two tender bedfellows for dust, thy broken faith hath made the prey for worms. What canst thou swear by now?
The time to come.
That thou hast wronged in the time o'erpast, for I myself may have many tears to wash. Hereafter time, for time past wronged by thee, the children live whose fathers thou hast slaughtered. Ungoverned youth to wail in it in their age. The parents live whose children thou hast butchered. Old barren plants to wail in it with their age. Swear not by time to come, for thou hast misused, ere used, by times ill used or past.
As I intend to prosper and repent, so thrive I in my dangerous affairs of hostile arms. Myself confound. Heaven and fortune bar me happy hours. Day, yield me not thy light, nor night thy rest. Be opposite all planets of good luck to my proceeding, if, with dear heart's love, immaculate devotion, holy thoughts I tender not thy beauteous princely daughter. In her consists my happiness and thine. Without her follows to myself and thee, herself, the land, and many a Christian soul, death, desolation, ruin, and decay. It cannot be avoided but by this. It will not be avoided but by this. Therefore, dear mother, I must call you so, be the attorney of my love to her, plead what I will be, not what I have been, not my deserts, but what I will deserve. Urge the necessity and the state of the times, and be not peevish found in great designs.
Shall I be tempted of the devil thus?
Aye, if the devil tempt you to do good.
Shall I forget myself to be myself?
Aye, if your self's resemblance wrong yourself.
Yet thou didst kill my children.
But in your daughter's womb I bury them, where in that nest of spicery they will breed selves of themselves to your recomforture.
Shall I go win my daughter for thy will?
And be a happy mother by the deed.
I go. Write to me very shortly, and you shall understand from me her mind.
Bear her my true love's kiss, and so farewell. Relenting fool and shallow, changing woman. How now, what news?
Most mighty sovereign on the western coast, rideth a puissant navy. To our shores throng many doubtful, hollow-hearted friends, unarmed and unresolved to beat them back. 'Tis thought that Richmond is their admiral, and there they hull, expecting but the aid of Buckingham to welcome them ashore.
Some Lightfoot friend post to the Duke of Norfolk. Ratcliffe, thyself, or Catesby. Where is he?
Here, my good lord.
Catesby, fly to the Duke.
I will, my lord, with all convenient haste.
Ratcliffe, come hither, post to Salisbury. When comest thou hither? Dull, unmindful villain, why stayest thou here and goes not to the Duke?
First, my liege, tell me your highness's pleasure. What from your grace I shall deliver to him.
Oh, true, good Catesby. Bid him levy straight the greatest strength and power that he can make, and meet me suddenly at Salisbury.
I go.
What may it please you shall I do at Salisbury?
Why, what should I do there before I go?
Your Highness told me I should post before.
My mind has changed. Stanley, what news with you?
None good, my liege, to please you with the hearing. No, none so bad, but well may be reported.
Hoday, a riddle! Neither good nor bad. What needst thou run so many miles about when thou mayst tell a tale the nearest way? Once more, what news?
Richmond is on the seas.
There let him sink, and the seas be on him. White-livered runagate, what doth he there?
I know not, mighty sovereign, but by guess.
Well, as you guess.
Stirred up by Dorset, Buckingham, and Morton, he makes for England, here to claim the crown.
Is the chair empty? Is the sword unswayed? Is the king dead? The empire unpossessed? What heir of York is there alive but we? And who is England's king but great York's heir? Then tell me, what makes he upon the seas?
Unless for that, my liege, I cannot guess.
Unless for that he comes to be your liege, you cannot guess wherefore the Welshman comes. Thou wilt revolt and fly to him, I fear.
No, my good lord, therefore mistrust me not.
Where is thy power, then, to beat him back? Where be thy tenants and thy followers? Are they not now upon the western shore, safe conducting the rebels from their ships?
No, my good lord, my friends are in the north.
Cold friends to me. What do they in the north when they should serve their sovereign in the west?
They have not been commanded, mighty king. Pleaseth your majesty to give me leave. I'll muster up my friends and meet your grace, where and what time your majesty shall please.
Aye, thou wouldst be gone to join with Richmond, but I'll not trust thee.
Most mighty sovereign, you have no cause to hold my friendship doubtful. I never was, nor never will be false.
Go then, and must amend. But leave behind your son, George Stanley. Look your heart be firm, or else his head's assurance is but frail.
So deal with him, as I prove true to you.
My gracious sovereign, now in Devonshire, as I by friends am well advertised, Sir Edward Courtney, the haughty prelate, Bishop of Exeter, his elder brother, with many more confederates, are in arms.
In Kent, my liege, the Guilfords are in arms, and every hour more competitors flock to the rebels, and their power grows strong.
My lord, the army of Great Buckingham.
Out on you owls, nothing but songs of death. There, take that till thou bring better news.
The news I have to tell your majesty is that by sudden floods and fall of waters, Buckingham's army is dispersed and scattered, and he himself wandered away alone, no man knows whither.
I cry thee mercy. There is my purse to cure that blow of mine. Hath any well-advised friend proclaimed reward to him that brings the traitor in?
Such proclamation hath been made, my lord.
Sir Thomas Lovell and Lord Marquis Dorset, 'tis said my liege and Yorkshire are in arms. But this good comfort bring I to your highness. The grand navy is dispersed by tempest. Richmond in Dorsetshire send out a boat unto the shore to ask those on the banks if they were his assistants. Yea or no? Who answered him they came from Buckingham upon his party. He, mistrusting them, hoist sail and made his course again for Brittany.
March on, since we are up in arms, if not to fight with foreign enemies, yet to beat down these rebels here at home.
My liege, the Duke of Buckingham is taken. That is the best news. That the Earl of Richmond is with a mighty power landed at Milford is colder tidings, yet they must be told.
Away, towards Salisbury, while we reason here, a royal battle might be won and lost. Someone take order, Buckingham be brought to Salisbury, the rest march on with me.
Act 4, Scene 5, Lord Stanley's house. Enter Stanley, Earl of Derby, and Sir Christopher, a priest.
Sir Christopher, tell Richmond this from me. That in the sty of the most deadly boar, my son George Stanley is franked up in hold. If I revolt, off goes young George's head. The fear of that holds off my present aid, so get thee gone. Commend me to thy lord. Withal say that the queen hath heartily consented he should espouse Elizabeth her daughter. But tell me, where is princely Richmond now?
At Pembroke, or Haverfordwest in Wales.
What men of name resort to him?
Sir Walter Herbert, a renowned soldier, Sir Gilbert Talbot, Sir William Stanley, Oxford, redoubted Pembroke, Sir James Blunt, and Rhys ap Thomas with a valiant crew, and many other of great name and worth. And towards London do they bend their power, if by the way they be not fought withal.
Well, get thee to thy lord, kiss thy hand. My letter will resolve him of my mind. Farewell.
Act 5, Scene 1, Salisbury, the courtyard of the Blue Boar Inn. Enter Buckingham with a sheriff and halberds leading to an execution.
Will not King Richard let me speak with him?
No, my good lord, therefore be patient.
Hastings and Edward's children, Grey and Rivers, holy King Henry, and thy fair son Edward, Vaughan, and all that have miscarried by underhand, corrupted, foul injustice. If that your moody, discontented souls do through the clouds behold this present hour, even for revenge mark my destruction. This is All Souls' Day, is it not, fellow?
It is.
Why then All Souls' Day is my body's doomsday. This is the day which, in King Edward's time, I wished might fall on me when I was found false to his children and his wife's allies. This is the day wherein I wish to fall by the false faith of him whom I trusted. This All Souls' Day to my fearful soul is the determined respite of my wrongs. That high all-seer which I dallied with hath turned my feigned prayer on my head, and given in earnest what I begged in jest. Thus doth he force the swords of wicked men to turn their own points in their masters' bosoms. Thus Margaret's curse falls heavy on my neck. When he, quoth she, shall split thy heart with sorrow, remember Margaret was a prophetess. Come, lead me, officers, to the block of shame. Wrong hath but wrong, and blame the due of blame.
Act 5, Scene 2, Staffordshire, the Earl of Richmond's camp outside Tamworth. Enter Richmond, Oxford, Blunt, and Herbert.
Fellows in arms, and my most loving friends, bruised underneath the yoke of tyranny, thus far into the bowels of the land have we marched on without impediment, and here receive we from our father Stanley lines of fair comfort and encouragement. The wretched, bloody, and usurping boar that spoiled your summer fields and fruitful vines, swills your warm blood like wash, and makes his trough in your emboweled bosoms. This foul swine is now even in the center of this isle, near to the town of Leicester, as we learn. From Tamworth thither is but 1 day's march. In God's name, cheerly on, courageous friends, to reap the harvest of perpetual peace by this one bloody trial of sharp war.
Every man's conscience is 1,000 men to fight against this guilty homicide. I doubt not, but his friends will turn to us.
He hath no friends, but what are his friends for fear, which is in his dearest need will fly from him.
All for our vantage. Then, in God's name, march. True hope is swift and flies with swallows' wings. Kings it makes gods, and meaner creatures kings.
Act 5, Scene 3, Leicestershire, Ambion Hills south of Market Bosworth. Enter King Richard in arms with Norfolk, Ratcliffe, and the Earl of Surrey.
Here, pitch our tent, even here in Bosworth Field. My lord of Surrey, why look you so sad?
My heart is 10 times lighter than my looks.
My lord of Norfolk.
Here, most gracious liege.
Norfolk, we must have knocks, huh? Must we not?
We must both give and take, my loving lord.
Up with my tent, here I will lie tonight. But where tomorrow? Well, all's one for that. Who hath described the number of the traitors?
6,000 or 7,000 is their utmost power.
Why, our battalia trebles that account. Besides, the king's name is a tower of strength, which they upon the adverse faction want. Up with the tent. Come, noble gentlemen, let us survey the vantage of the ground. Call for some men of sound direction. Let's lack no discipline, make no delay, for lords, tomorrow is a busy day.
The weary sun hath made a golden set, and by the bright track of his fiery car gives token of a goodly day tomorrow. Sir William Brandon, you shall bear my standard. Give me some ink and paper in my tent. I'll draw the form and model of our battle, limit each leader to his several charge, and part in just proportion our small power. My Lord of Oxford, you, Sir William Brandon, and you, Sir Walter Herbert, stay with me. The Earl of Pembroke keeps his regiment. Good Captain Blunt, bear my good night to him. And by the 2nd hour in the morning, desire the Earl to see me in my tent. Yet one more thing, good Captain, do for me. Where is Lord Stanley quartered, do you know?
Unless I've mistaken his colors much, which I am assured I have not done, his regiment lies half a mile at least, south from the mighty power of the king.
If without peril it be possible, sweet Blunt, Make some good means to speak with him, and give him from me this most needful note.
Upon my life, my lord, I'll undertake it. And so God give you quiet rest tonight.
Good night, good Captain Blunt. Come, gentlemen, let us consult upon tomorrow's business. Into my tent, the dew is raw and cold.
What is the clock?
It's supper time, my lord. It's 9 o'clock.
We'll not sup tonight. Give me some ink and paper. What, is my beaver easier than it was? And all my armor laid into my tent?
It is, my liege, and all things are in readiness.
Good Norfolk, hie thee to thy charge. Use careful watch, choose trusty sentinels.
I go, my lord.
Stir with the lark tomorrow, gentle Norfolk.
I warrant you, my lord.
Catesby.
My lord.
Send out a pursuivant at arms to Stanley's regiment. Bid him bring his power before sunrising, lest his son George fall into the blind cave of eternal night. Fill me a bowl of wine. Give me a watch. Saddle white Surrey for the field tomorrow. Look that my staves be sound and not too heavy. Ratcliffe.
My lord.
Sawest thou the melancholy Lord Northumberland?
Thomas the Earl of Surrey and himself, much about cockshut time from troop to troop, went through the army cheering up the soldiers.
So, I am satisfied. Give me a bowl of wine. I have not that alacrity of spirits nor cheer of mind that I was wont to have. Yeah, set it down. Is ink and paper ready?
It is, my lord.
Bid my guard watch. Leave me. Ratcliffe, about the mid of night, come into my tent and help arm me. Leave me, I say.
Fortune and victory sit on thy helm.
All comfort that the dark night can afford be to thy person, noble father-in-law. Tell me, how fares our loving mother?
I, by attorney, bless thee from thy mother, who prays continually for Richmond's good. So much for that. The silent hours steal on, and flaky darkness breaks within the east. In brief, for so the season bid us be, prepare thy battle early in the morning, and put thy fortune to the arbitrament of bloody strokes and mortal staring war. I, as I may, that which I would I cannot, with best advantage will deceive the time, and aid thee in this doubtful shuffle of arms. But on thy side I may not be too forward, lest, being seen, thy brother, tender George, be executed in his father's sight. Farewell. The leisure and the fearful time cuts off on the ceremonious vows of love, and ample interchange of sweet discourse, which so long sundered friends should dwell upon. God give us leisure for these rites of love. Once more adieu, be valiant and speed well.
Good lords, conduct him to his regiment. I'll strive with troubled thoughts to take a nap, lest leaden slumber pease me down tomorrow when I should mount with wings of victory. Once more, good night, kind lords and gentlemen. O thou, whose captain I account myself, look on my forces with a gracious eye. Put in their hands thy bruising irons of wrath, that they may crush down with a heavy fall the usurping helmets of our adversaries. Make us thy ministers of chastisement, that we may praise thee in the victory. To thee I do commend my watchful soul, ere I let fall the windows of mine eyes. Sleeping and waking, oh, defend me still.
Let me sit heavy on thy soul tomorrow. Think how thou stabbedst me in the prime of my youth at Tewkesbury. Despair, therefore, and die. Be cheerful, Richmond, for the wronged souls of butchered princes fight in thy behalf. King Henry's issue, Richmond comforts thee.
When I was mortal, my anointed body by thee was punctured full of deadly holes. Think on the tower and me, despair and die. Harry the Sixth bids thee despair and die. Virtuous and holy be thou, conqueror. Harry, that prophesied thou shouldst be king, doth comfort thee in thy sleep. Live and flourish.
Let me sit heavy on thy soul tomorrow. I that was washed to death with fulsome wine, poor Clarence, by thy guile betrayed to death. Tomorrow in the battle think on me, and fall thy edgeless sword. Despair and die. Offspring of the house of Lancaster, the wronged heirs of York do pray for thee. Good angels guard thy battle. Live.
Let me sit heavy in thy soul tomorrow. Rivers that died at Pomfret, despair and die. Think upon Grey, and let thy soul despair.
Think upon Vaughan, and with guilty fear, let fall thy lance. Despair and die.
Awake, and think our wrongs in Richard's bosom will conquer him. Awake, and win the day.
Dream on thy cousin smothered in the tower. Let us be led within thy bosom, Richard, and weigh thee down to ruin, shame, and death. Thy nephew's soul bid thee despair and die. Sleep, Richmond, sleep in peace and wake in joy. Good angels guard thee from the boar's annoy. Live and get a happy race of kings. Edward's unhappy sons do bid thee flourish.
Bloody and guilty, guiltily awake, and in a bloody battle end thy days. Think on Lord Hastings, despair and die. Quiet, untroubled soul, awake, awake. Arm, fight, and conquer for fair England's sake.
Richard, thy wife, that wretched Anne, thy wife, that never slept a quiet hour with thee, now fills thy sleep with perturbations. Tomorrow in the battle, think on me, and fall thy edgeless sword. Despair and die. Thou quiet soul, sleep thou a quiet sleep. Dream of success and happy victory. Thy adversary's wife doth pray for thee.
The first was I that helped thee to the crown, the last was I that felt thy tyranny. Oh, in the battle think on Buckingham, and die in terror of thy guiltiness. Dream on of bloody deeds and death, fainting, despair, despairing, yield thy breath. I died for hope ere I could lend thee aid, but cheer thy heart, and be thou not dismayed. God and good angels fight on Richmond's side, and Richard fall in height of all his pride.
Give me another horse. Bind up my wounds. Have mercy, Jesu. soft. I did but dream. Coward conscience, dost thou afflict me? The lights burn blue. It is now dead midnight. Cold, fearful drops stand on my trembling flesh. What do I fear? Myself. There's none else by. Richard loves Richard. That is, I am I. Is there a murderer here? No. Yes. I am. Then fly. What? From myself. Great reason why. Lest I revenge. What? Upon myself. Alack, I love myself. Wherefore? For any good that I have myself done unto myself? Oh no. Alas, I rather hate myself for hateful deeds committed by myself. I am a villain. Yet I lie, I am not. Fool, of thyself speak well. Fool, do not flatter. My conscience hath several thousand tongues, and every tongue brings in a several tale, and every tale condemns me for a villain. Perjury! Perjury in the highest degree. Murder. Stern murder in the direst degree. Oh, several sins, all used in each degree, throng to the bar, crying, oh, guilty! Guilty! I shall despair. There is no creature loves me. And if I die, no soul will pity me. And wherefore should they? Since that I myself find in myself no pity to myself. Methought the souls of all that I had murdered came to my tent, and every one did threat tomorrow's vengeance on the head of Richard.
My lord.
Zounds! Who's there?
Ratcliffe, my lord, 'tis I. The early village cock hath twice done salutation to the morn. Your friends are up and buckle on their armor.
Oh, Ratcliffe, I have dreamed a fearful dream. What thinkst thou? Will our friends prove all true?
No doubt, my lord.
Oh, Ratcliffe, I fear, I fear.
Nay, good my lord, be not afraid of shadows.
By the Apostle Paul, shadows tonight have struck more terror to the soul of Richard than can the substance of 10,000 soldiers armed in proof and led by shallow Richmond. 'Tis not yet near day. Come, go with me. Under our tents I'll play the eavesdropper and see if any men mean to shrink from me.
Good morrow, Richmond.
Mercy, lords and watchful gentlemen, that you have ta'en a tardy sluggard here.
That, my lord.
Sweetest sleep and fairest boding dreams that ever entered in a drowsy head have I since your departure had, my lords. Methought their souls whose bodies Richard murdered came to my tent and cried on victory. I promise you, my soul is very jocund in the remembrance of so fair a dream. How far into the morning is it, lords?
Upon the stroke of 4.
Why then, 'tis time to arm and give direction. More than I have said, loving countrymen, the leisure and enforcement of the time forbids to dwell upon. Yet remember this, God and our good cause fight upon our side. The prayers of holy saints and wronged souls, like high-reared bulwarks, stand before our faces. Richard except, those whom we fight against had rather have us win than him they follow. For what is he they follow? Truly, gentlemen, a bloody tyrant and a homicide, one raised in blood and one in blood established, one that made means to come by what he hath and slaughtered those that were the means to help him. A base, foul stone made precious by the foil of England's chair where he falsely set, one that hath ever been God's enemy. And if you fight against God's enemy, God will, in justice, ward you as his soldiers. If you do sweat to put a tyrant down, you sleep in peace, the tyrant being slain. If you do fight against your country's foes, your country's fat shall pay your pains the higher. If you do fight in safeguard of your wives shall welcome home the conquerors. If you do free your children from the sword, your children's children quits it in your age. Then, in the name of God and all these rights, advance your standards, draw your willing swords. For me, the ransom of my bold attempt shall be this cold corpse on the earth's cold face. But if I thrive, the gain of my attempt, the least of you shall share his part thereof. Sound drums and trumpets boldly and cheerfully. God and St. George, Richmond and victory.
What said Northumberland as touching Richmond?
That he was never trained up in arms.
He said the truth. What said Surrey then?
He smiled and said, the better for our purpose.
He was in the right, and so indeed it is. Tell the clock there. Give me a calendar. Who saw the sun today?
Not I, my lord.
Then he disdains to shine, for by the book he should have braved the east an hour ago. A black day it will be for somebody, Ratcliffe.
My lord.
The sun will not be seen today. The sky doth frown and lower upon our army. I would these dewy tears were from the ground. Not shine today? Well, why? What is that to me more than to Richmond? For the self same heaven that frowns on me looks sadly on him.
Arm, my lord. The foe vaunts in the field.
Come, bustle, bustle. Caparison, my horse. Call up Lord Stanley. Bid him bring his power. I will lead forth my soldiers to the plain, and thus my battle shall be ordered. My forward shall be drawn out all in length, consisting equally of horse and foot. Our archers shall be placed in the midst. John, Duke of Norfolk, Thomas, Earl of Surrey, shall have the leading of this foot and horse. They, thus directed, we will follow in the main battle, whose puissance on either side shall be well winged with our chiefest horse. This, and St. George to boot. What thinkest thou, Norfolk?
A good direction, warlike sovereign. This found I on my tent this morning.
Jockey of Norfolk, be not so bold, for Dickon thy master is bought and sold. A thing devised by the enemy. Go, gentlemen, every man unto his charge. Let not our babbling dreams affright our souls. Conscience is but a word that cowards use, devised at first to keep the strong in awe. Our strong arms be our conscience, swords our law. March on, join bravely. Let us to it pell-mell, if not to heaven, then hand in hand to hell. What shall I say more than I have inferred? Remember whom you are to cope withal. A sort of vagabonds, rascals and runaway, a scum of Bretons and base lackey peasants, whom their overcloyed country vomits forth to desperate adventures and assured destruction. You, sleeping safe, they bring to you unrest. You, having lands and blessed with beauteous wives, they would restrain the one, disdain the other, and who doth lead them but a paltry fellow? long kept in Brittany at our mother's cost, a milksop, one that never in his life felt so much cold as overshoes in snow. Let's whip these stragglers over the seas again, lash hence these overweening rags of France, these famished beathers weary of their lives, who but for dreaming on this fond exploit, for want of means, poor rats had hanged themselves. If we be conquered, let men conquer us, not these bastard Bretons whom our fathers have in their own land beaten, bobbed, and thumped, and in record left them heirs of shame. Shall these enjoy our lands, lie with our wives, ravish our daughters? Hark, I hear their drum. Fight, gentlemen of England. Fight, bold yeomen. Draw archers. Draw your arrows to the head. Spur your proud horses hard and ride in blood. Amaze the welkin with your broken staves. What says Lord Stanley? Will he bring his power?
My lord, he doth deny to come.
Off with his son George's head.
My lord, the enemy is past the marsh. After the battle, let George Stanley die.
1,000 hearts are great within my bosom. Advance our standards. Set upon our foes our ancient word of courage. Fair St. George, inspire us with the spleen of fiery dragons. Upon them, victory sits in our helms.
Act 5, Scene 4, beside the battle at Bosworth Field. Enter Norfolk and Catesby.
Rescue, my lord of Norfolk, rescue, rescue! The king enacts more wonders than a man, daring and opposite to every danger. His horse is slain, and all on foot he fights, seeking for Richmond in the throat of death. Rescue, fair lord, or else the day is lost.
A horse! A horse! My kingdom for a horse!
Withdraw, my lord. I'll help you to a horse.
Slave, I have set my life upon a cast, and I will stand the hazard of the die. I think there be 6 Richmonds in the field. 5 have I slain today instead of him. A horse! A horse! My kingdom for a horse!
God and your arms be praised, victorious friends. The day is ours. The bloody dog is dead.
Act 5, Scene 5, a hill beside the battlefield outside of Stoke Golding. Enter Henry Tudor, the Earl of Richmond, and Lord Stanley, Earl of Derby, bearing the crown with their armies.
Courageous Richmond, well hast thou acquit thee. Lo, here is the long usurped royalty. From the dead temples of this bloody wretch have I plucked off. Grace thy brows withal. Wear it, enjoy it, and make much of it.
Great God of heaven, say amen to all. But tell me, is young George Stanley living?
He is, my lord. And safe and like us for now, whither, if it please you, we may now withdraw us.
What men of name are slain on either side?
John, Duke of Norfolk, Walter, Lord Ferrers, Sir Robert Brackenbury, and Sir William Brandon.
Inter their bodies as becomes their births. Proclaim a pardon to the soldiers fled that in submission will return to us. And then, as we have ta'en the sacrament, we will unite the white rose and the red. Smile, heaven, upon this fair conjunction that long have frowned upon their enmity. What traitor hears me and says not, Amen? England hath long been mad and scarred herself. The brother blindly shed the brother's blood. The father rashly slaughtered his own son. The son, compelled, been butchered to the sire. All this divided York and Lancaster, divided in their dire division. Oh, now let Richmond and Elizabeth, the true succeeders of each royal house, by God's fair ordinance conjoin together, and let their heirs, God, if thy will be so, enrich the time to come with smooth-faced peace, with smiling plenty, and fair prosperous days. Abate the edge of traitors, gracious Lord, that would reduce these bloody days again, and make poor England weep in streams of blood. Let them not live to taste this land's increase, that would with treason wound this fair land's peace. Now civil wounds are stopped, peace lives again, that she may long live here. God say amen.
We hope you enjoyed our reading of Richard III. Let's call our players back. Jason Rennie, Richard Conley, Elise Ashton, Christopher Carbo, Chris Klein, Taylor Marr, Ron Dorn, Megan Wells, Dave Demke, Nima Rad, Mark Tracy, Emily Redmond Hall, Julie Grossman, Elizabeth Juvenal, Nancy Pasquale, Spencer Frederick, Hadley Hulka, and I'm Mary Carrick. Join us next time for a much needed comedy of errors.